Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill, featuring Michael St. John, Pat Trammell, and special guests.
Hey everybody, good evening to you. It is November the 9th, I believe. I have to look at my paper to see what the heck it is. It's November the 8th, 2022. I should have known that. My nephew Corbin's birthday, his 27th birthday, was said. I sang happy birthday. I don't know, I might should sing it again anyway. His birthday was yesterday, to the 8th, and it is a jam-packed show, except we have two people cannot be here. Michael St. John is running election result coverage at his station, Fun Radio. He can't be here. Pat Trammell is in Texas to have the full panel. We don't have. Chris Ellis is here in the house. I'll bring him next. But what I needed is a referee tonight. I needed somebody to make sure he had complete control. If I get a little out of hand, I don't know, this pretty new shirt I have, I might get pretty out of hand. But to referee this show, to moderate the show, to produce this show, he's going to say hi right now. Here's Adam Dunn.
All right. Good evening, Randy. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate that.
I didn't talk about what I talked about yesterday. Remember when I was saying something that's scratching your, you know what? You didn't like that very well. Would that get me disqualified today?
No, maybe, yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just sitting here in the, as you always say, the Peachtree state of Georgia. And yeah, I know Michael's working those election returns and went and voted today. So we'll see how things turn out for us down here in Georgia also.
Well, good luck, and you'll be in and out throughout the show. And we have a jam-packed show, unusual show, a fun show, a lot of subject. Majority of it's wrestling, but we will talk other than wrestling. We'll have some few plugs, few scoops, few announcements, and we're going to bring in right now the assistant principal. I have one guy that's going to referee, and if I get out of hand, here's a guy with the authority to suspend me, to expel me, to kick me out of the whole district. He's my friend. He went to Nettleton High School. He played American Legion baseball for Daddy Rabbit for I believe it was called the Blue Jays. Am I right?
Yeah, long time ago, man. Long time ago.
Current assistant superintendent of Southside High School. They are fairly new to high school football, but they're coming around, and I know you're disappointed that you'll be staying home starting this weekend, but I think you're absolutely full if you're not absolutely 100% encouraged by the fight, the upset. I think, even though it was at home, but the crosstown rival, Batesville, that you beat them, and then they ended up Batesville after, I think they were mad coming on and embarrassed coming off the loss to you, and that's what I blamed on them coming up ahead of Valley View to give Valley View the second loss of the season. But lots going on, and I'm proud of your team, and I think you guys have a big future. And I want to say hello, Panetta. She doesn't say hi to me, but Panetta says hello to you.
Hi, Panetta. Glad to be back on. Glad to be on the show tonight, getting to see everybody, talk to everybody. Yeah, Randy, it was a good year. We're the smallest 5A school in Arkansas, and our first year in 5A, we went 6-4. We lost a tiebreaker to go to the playoffs, and in actuality, the game that hurt us was we lost to Nettleton, ironically enough, and we didn't play very well. And I actually said that night that game could come back to haunt us, and it did. And so, you get what you earn in the athletic world. And as Coach Parcells used to say, you are what your record says you are. And our record said we weren't good enough to go, so we didn't.
Now, I have a question about that, because Friday during the day, listen to sports talk, and then the Friday night game, and everything that I was hearing and keeping up with it, to me, with the talk I was hearing, it was more likely that Nettleton would not get in, but Southside would get in. And it ends up that Nettleton, if I'm right, is in, and we know for sure because you told me Southside's out. How did that happen?
Well, the odds were that Valley View would beat Batesville. Then there would have been a three-way tie, and we would have won the three-way tie. We'd have been third, Batesville fourth, and Nettleton out. That was the most likely scenario. But since Batesville upset Valley View, it left us and Nettleton in a tie, two-way tie, and they beat us head-to-head 13-12. So they advanced, and we don't. That's how it happened. We could either be third or out. That's the only two options we could be.
Now, your prediction on the Nettleton game Friday night.
Well, I mean, if they're playing Shiloh Christian, they're going to get beat bad.
How about?
But and I'm not being negative toward Nettleton.
Yeah.
We probably would have too. So, private school, we can get into that story. Private schools with all that, it's a different deal. It's just
we'll hold that story for another day.
Right.
Farmington, what are you predicting for the Farmington Valley View game? Because Farmington's had a good season. They look awful tough. They really do. I'm a little nervous about the Friday night game for us.
Well, I think athletically they're very comparable in team makeup and all that because, I mean, let's be real, Parkview and Pulaski Robinson, that's a different level. They're on the same class, but that's a different level. And Farmington and Valley View are comparable. Coach Eldridge is the coach at Farmington, is one of my top three coaches in Arkansas. He's a great football coach. Won state championships at Arkadelphia, had success at North Little Rock. I mean, he does a fabulous job. And one of my good friends is the superintendent at Farmington that hired him, and they got a great basketball coach there too. So it's a growing area, a place that people want to be, and they excel in about every form of athletics that there is. So them and Valley View will be a competitive ball game, I think.
Frank Seaton's in the house. We're talking some football. We won't spend too much time on it. Real quick, in about a minute, because I've been hooked to the home games all year long. Of course, when you have somebody in your family involved in it, obviously you get more interested in that situation. Explain in about a minute, if you can do it in a minute, tell me the absolute beauty and joy of Friday night high school football, Chris.
Well, I'll sum it up in three things. In the coaching world, no matter what sport you coach, in the high school world, we always say there's nothing like Friday night. And they made a movie and a TV series about Friday Night Lights. Kenny Chesney wrote a song about the boys of fall. It's a brotherhood. It's you go out there and you bleed, you sweat, and compete. I mean, it's a really cool deal. And like the school, our rival Batesville you mentioned earlier. Most people don't know this. Our choirs sang the national anthem together. Our bands played together at halftime. Our cheer and dance teams performed together at halftime. So there's a lot of pageantry and ceremonial stuff that comes along with high school football, traditions that come with high school football. And it's part of, in the South especially, high school and college football are just big, and it means a lot to a lot of people. Fall weekends are very important in the realm of football, but it has so many life lessons in it.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I'll get a plug in right now. The last time I did more on Front Row with Bud Row, except for the wrestling hour at 9 o'clock, you and Coach Fowler from Nettleton, the Nettleton AD, was on hand when I did the last time. I think it was in June or July when we came up to Jonesboro and we were together when I did 7 to 10. Tomorrow, I will be on the Front Row with Bud Row, 953theticket.com or 96.9 FM, 95.3 FM, or 970 AM, again at 953theticket.com. ticket.com. I'll be there at 8 o'clock. And Chris, I'll be excited about this because from starting at 8 o'clock, I will be having a room full of football players, and I'm very excited about the fact, if you would, Al, if you would put up the first picture of number 5. He is a middle linebacker. He's 6'1". He's 195 pounds. His name is Carson Winters. He has his name called a lot, Chris. Carson Winters, and he will be in the studio tomorrow. He's friends with my nephew Cal, and Carson certainly met him a couple of times. Hear his name called every week, and very impressed with him. And he will be in the studio tomorrow, as will be a offensive guard, number 78. He's 6 foot tall. He's 220 pounds. He's number 78. His name is Hayden Ross. Hayden, who I have not met before, but I've watched him out there, and he does a good job for Valley View. They, I believe, have won 9 games. They've lost 2, and they in action Friday night. And the third guest will be a person that I knew from the time he was about an hour old. That is a person that I share a birthday with, a person that was born on my 43rd birthday. He is 6'4". He's 210 pounds, and his name is Cal Richardson. So we will have representative from the Blazers with me in the studios from starting about 8 o'clock for maybe 25 minutes, or if I can sneak more, we'll sneak more than the power hour. So do you like that, Chris? I used my friends and now my family and his friends to help me create magical radio. We did that with you and Coach, and I hope to do it with Cal and with Carson and Hayden coming up tomorrow. I'm really excited about. And do you think, I'll ask you this, and I'll ask Adam this. Do you think I'm prepared for that interview tomorrow?
Oh, I know you are. I know you prepped and you're ready to go tomorrow. I have absolutely no doubt about that.
Adam?
Yeah, I would agree that you are prepped, notes printed, you are ready to go.
Well, they're not printed yet, but they're done. I just had to hit print. Yeah, they do. Well, some of them not even typed yet, but they're written down. Then I'll get the whatever late breaking sports news tonight. I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to drive. I'll check the headline. Honestly, Bud says on every show, and he says, I've never prepped my day in my life. And he always tells me, why do you come in here prep? Because I haven't done anything in my life that I'm not prepped for. I prep for this show. I prep for the Monday night show. I prep for the radio show. If somebody calls me I've never heard of in my life, wants me to do a wrestling interview, I'm saying, what are you talking about? Oh, we'll wing it. Well, they might think that, but then I tend to take over the show if I'm a guest somewhere, because if they're not prepared, I'm going to be, and we'll just go my direction. But I wish you could listen. Well, if you're not busy, you could go to 953theticket.com at 8 o'clock in the morning. I think that'll be pretty cool for me and for Cal both, and for his buddies. That's a neat thing that I'm really excited about. Chris?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm going to try to listen to it. If I'm where I can, if I'm not in a meeting or something like that, I'll try to get it on my computer and listen to you guys. I try to do that from time to time when you're on with Budrow. And I'll be honest with you, or the voice of the Blazers, with it being election night, it makes me a little nervous being on there tomorrow. So I'll just leave it at that.
I'll I'll talk over anything that I might think's going to offend somebody. How about that? Is that a good?
Probably a good idea. He may not be in a good mood tomorrow, from what I'm reading so far.
Let's talk a little wrestling a little bit, and let's talk about one of my buddies because he made a return. This is a dude with 9 lives, Chris Ellis. Man, you think he's out. You think he has demons. He comes back from the demons, then he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame. Then COVID happens, and then the job goes away. Then he gets another big executive job. Then Vince McMahon steps down and Hunter steps up, and then Jeff Jarrett's not in the WWE anymore. But last Wednesday, it was the second day of November, Jeff Jarrett, Double J, that's JARRET is the new Director of Business Development. And I don't even know what that means. But he's going to have a lot to do with a lot of things, including international and live events. He's going to be a character or part of a group, and he will do absolutely great. You see his new kind of gimmick. It's like the old outlaw or the old cowboy or something like that. I'm glad that Jeff Jarrett is all elite, and I'll get Adam's opinion first. What do you think? Did it surprise you at all that old Double J is back in the saddle again, Adam?
Yeah, I'll say that was definitely a little surprising to me. Not surprising that he can't do it, but just surprising. And like you said, he kind of has 9 lives. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere, and so now he's over in AEW, and I definitely hope to see some good things from him. And I heard you say that he's going to have an on-air role as well, correct?
Yes, he's going to be a part of a group, and apparently he's going to feud with Darby Allin because he busted a guitar over Darby Allin's head.
Okay.
And I think it will eventually, because who is the mentor of Darby Allin? Do you know that answer?
Sting, right?
Yeah. The man called Sting, Tony Schiavone will say. So I think it'll be very interesting.
So you foresee a little Sting action coming up?
Oh, I think it'll probably be in a tag or a 6-man, but I think it can be guaranteed. Were you surprised, Chris? The Double J is now all elite.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see Jeff back at All Elite, but I will say this. I saw an interview with Dutch after that. He's talking about Jeff's, he said he can sell life insurance to a dying man. And I think that's why he reinvents himself and gets back in the game, so to speak. But, he and I are the same age. So when I watch wrestling, we talk about this reality, the disbelief. You do away with the disbelief and buy into the reality. If he and Sting are in a match, like I hope it's in a 6-man tag, because 2 56 and 60-year-old men in a wrestling match doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
Now I like Darby Allin, but I just, new characters, new people. I'm an MJF guy. That he's new. He's 2022. Let's do that. I'm of course you and I have debated on Jericho. I'm done with Jericho. I'm ready to move on. But you like him, and that's all. That's great. They need people that different people like, and I've always been a Jeff Jarrett fan. But I'm ready for him to go on. Move on to the younger people, and let's build that up.
Let's do a blast from the past, since you don't like booking the past. So I will talk about the past right now. I like doing this. We'll talk about Jonesboro, Arkansas. I don't think even at this point you might have not going to the matches. A different era of a different time from November the 4th, 1972, at the American Legion Arena on West Washington in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The opening match, I know one guy, he was 6'6", 276 pounds, Big George Holt, and he wrestled Ken Nichols. I've never heard of Ken Nichols. That was the opening match. And then they went right into the main event. Both matches were probably 2 out of 3 falls. Don and Al Green, the Mean Greens, with manager Sir Steve Clements, against the fabulous Jackie Fargo and Eddie Marlin. So do you remember when you first started going to the Jungle Girl matches, did you ever go into just 2 matches or had it already increased to more?
When I started going, it was like 74, and it seemed like we would have 3 matches and then maybe like a battle royal at the end, which would be all the guys that worked the first 3 matches. It wasn't a very big card back in those days. You know, six guys maybe on the card. Now I don't remember George Holtz and Ken Nichols. Obviously Don and Al Green and Jackie and Eddie I remember very well, but I didn't start till 2 years after this card, so I don't have any recollection of them.
I'll tell you a funny story. In Memphis and in Tennessee, to get licensed back when the Tennessee Athletic Commission was a thing. But to get a promoter's license in Memphis, you had to have one of the partners live in Memphis, be from Memphis. So the man's name that was a partner to Nick Goulas and Roy Welch was Burt Bates. Well, anyway, they did a big angle at TV. George Holtz was a big guy just coming into the territory. So they had named Eddie Marlin as most improved wrestler. And this was the angle that was planned out. But Mr. Bates wasn't smart to the business. He was a partner in the town and they didn't smarten him up. That's how it was a different. I don't think people understand that. I think you've heard me talk about it enough, so you understand it. Adam understands it. But I don't think the viewers really understand that. The promoter, a partner in the town, was not smartened up. So George Holtz, it was an angle, attacked Eddie, broke the trophy over Eddie's head. Mr. Bates he wasn't allowed in the dressing room. So he was the promoter, a partner. He wasn't allowed in the dressing room. He was sat in his chair. So he got up, walked on screen, helped Eddie up, said, "Don't worry about it, Eddie. I'll buy you a new trophy," which killed George Holtz's hate. Killed the heat. No doubt about it. Adam, what do you think? 2 things from you, Adam. First of all, I want you to know, is it a different world to you to hear that story that the promoter wasn't smartened up and a partner in the town wasn't smartened up, and you'd have a card that's just 2 cards? I want you to respond to that. And then at that point, I want you to update us on any comments we might have gotten since we started this show.
Oh, yeah, no, for the fact that you got someone that's a promoter that's not allowed in the back, not smartened up to the business, to today, anyone who's casually watched wrestling for 5 minutes thinks that they're in the business. Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different deal. And yeah, just amazing to think that the guy that's actually, the promoter of the town or of the event is not even smartened up, doesn't know anything the business or whatever, not allowed in the back. So yeah, that's amazing to think of. And then, like you said, yeah, you kind of compare that to today, and yeah, I mean, saying that it's almost an understatement to say that it's a different world. Absolutely.
Comments from the people. You might have to ignore 1 or 2, but go ahead.
No, it looks like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Randy West says, "Hello, everybody. I know you're not ignoring that comment."
No, I love Randy West because the one person, I like the person. I like the one person. I certainly do. But I'm not going to acknowledge who he's working for because you get nervous when I knock something. You think it's a waste of time, a waste of my time, even though you feel the same way that I do, that the guy that he works for is a complete piece of you-know-what. I almost said the word you-know-what, but Chris Ellis, when he's on here, I try not to.
All right.
I try not to. Anyway,
Well, see, Chris said, "Don't ignore me." You definitely did not ignore Chris.
No, I'm saying I'm not saying your name because of who you work for.
I know.
I
He's
could be mean
acknowledging.
here.
But
Randy West.
Chris loves you, Randy.
Oh yeah. Now, I don't guess he realizes one of my guys, Derek King. Do you think I have anything to do with Derek King now at all? No.
No,
No.
I know the answer.
I'm like that. I'm not a nice guy. I'm an old-time wrestling guy. I carry grudges, folks. And if I have an enemy, it's going to be. I will not waver, unwavering. As Randy West is saying to keep me straight, and Chris hadn't opened his mouth. It's Adam that's trying to keep. Adam is the referee. Randy, if you'd have been here on time, you'd have realized it. Adam is the referee, so he's doing his job. Now, if the referee can't get his job done, it's Chris's job as an administrator to expel me or suspend me. However, the thing is, I guess Adam could shut the show off, but I can turn it right back on, correct?
Yeah.
I don't know if Randy West is talking about me or that guy that you don't want to say his name, because his name's Chris also.
No, I don't think he would know that, Chris.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Randy West has known you long enough to know that me nor Adam could keep you straight.
You think?
Yeah. He's known you a long, long time.
Now, let me ask both of your advice.
Okay.
Because we're going to go back to the radio show tomorrow real quick. I want your advice. And I'm real serious. I'm shooting here, people. And for those of you that don't know what the word shoot is, you don't need to be listening to the show. Anyway, I am shooting with Chris and Randy. So you guys know how I am. I expect the unexpected. I'm over the top. I get fired up, but I know when to behave. I know on the radio station, I can't go on the radio station and cuss. I know you can't do that and that sort of thing. I avoid politics. I've ignored that. But I've got my nephew, who I don't want to embarrass, who thinks I'm the cool uncle. But I'm this set of friends that he's with, his teammates. Do you think I'll embarrass Cal tomorrow? Do you think I should be me, entertaining, over the top, expect the unexpected, or do you think I should dial it down about 50 notches? First of all, I'll let Adam answer that question.
No. You have to be you.
How about you, Chris?
Oh yeah, you got to be you. You got to be expect the unexpected, over the top, and they'll be going home. And you ought to be Cal's crazy uncle. And it was awesome. Right. We had the best time. We can't wait. We're going to listen next week because we will see what he's going to say next week. So.
I can't believe they just let this guy come in here on the radio and do this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
You know how I'm going to open? This is what I told. They're having little audio problems with playing music, but I'm going to open with when he introduces me, because we're saving the Power Hour theme for the 9:00 hour. We're going to open with "Glory Days" by Bruce Springsteen, and they're going start with that. Then I will compare that. I'll say now, my glory days were in front of 10,000 seats, sold out arena with me bleeding toe by toe. But these guests that we're going to have on today, they have an opportunity to have some glory days of them all coming up on Friday night. And then, do you think that's a pretty funny way to lead into that? First of all, do you think that's cool with the music?
I do. I think the glory days.
Well,
is
don't
good.
kill yourself with enjoyment there. Good God, I thought both of you went to sleep.
But I'm trying to answer you.
Well, answer.
I think glory days is good because those kids don't realize it right now. The best times and memories of their life is Friday nights on the football field.
Right
20-year reunion.
Yeah.
They'll be making up plays that they didn't even run to talk about this game and that game and how good they were. And because the older we get, the better we were. So that they will. Glory days is a good way to say that.
Well, then I'm going to say, I'm telling you guys what I want you to do. What I want you to do Friday night, and I want you to do it against Farmington. And I'm going to steal from the Dream Machine. I say, I want you, and this might go over their head. I'll say it slower than you've heard it before. I'll say it slower than what I would to them. But I'm going to say, I'm giving away my opening tomorrow, but that's okay. I hope they're not listening. I'll say, guys, what I want you to do Friday night. And then I'll
Randy Myers.
Randy Myers is Randy watching?
Yeah, he's watching.
He'll be mad at me for giving away the whole opening. But folks, I guarantee you'll want to listen to it because Randy won't be surprised. And I even have a part for Randy in a minute. But anyway, I take everything. We did that little thing. It's on 953 The Ticket. In the morning. Randy will be on at 7 o'clock. He will take an in-depth look at the high school footballs with Hootens. That'll be a great segment at 7. Kyle will be on with Carson and with Hayden at 8, and then the Power Hour at 9. But I'm going to start them off, and I'm going to give them a little motivation. If they think their coach can motivate, I'm going to steal the Dream Machine because I'm going to tell them, we need you to knock down lightning, roll over thunder, step on a grave and make a dead man wonder. If that don't motivate them, I don't know what will. What do you think, Chris? And I told Randy I told Randy Myers, Chris, and he's late. I hope he's not late tomorrow because I don't know how to push the damn buttons. Well, I'll be screwed. I'll have to call Adam and somebody get Brandon to come next door or something. I'm going to do this show tomorrow. If Randy Myers gets kidnapped, I need to send a security guard over to his house and set out on his front porch with a shotgun because we need to escort him to the radio station tomorrow because we need him there to talk and it give me the introduction of my life, and we need him to be safe. So we'll have security to Randy Myers, take gun. Anyway, you're taken care of, Randy. You're taken care of. I'll be fired up. I'll be ready to go. And one of the things
Randy says I'm in your house with a gun. Don't worry.
Hey, no, don't worry about that. Do I have guns? I'd go over my gun, but I don't have a gun because it got taken away. But that's another story for her. Have you ever heard that story?
No.
Yeah, I have. You told me on the way to Jackson, so I know about it.
Do we need to hear it?
No. I mean, it's nothing illegal or anything. Are you interested? Do you want to hear it?
Well, I mean, now, hell, I think we have to.
All right. So,
Randy, full screen.
My mother had an 18-year-old when I was born. So, I was 18 years apart from my sister. So, honestly, I was a not planned child. They thought the child rearing was over with. I used to tease my mother and say I was the mistake and the biggest mistake she ever made in her life. And she said, no, you weren't a mistake. You weren't a mistake. And in reality of it, my sister was older. And by the time my mother got sick, my sister was sick, and I became the caregiver. And she moved in, and you knew this, Adam. She moved in with me in Poplar Bluff the last 3 years of her life. Well, my niece has called one of the partners of Sonic and told me, said, we don't know how Randy will handle. I call my mother. The grandkids and everybody called her Muzz. The youngest grandkid got Muzz out of grandmother. I don't know how that happened, but it stuck with her, and they still call her that. 12 years after she died. But anyway, one of the nieces called the Sonic partner, or actually, Randy, it was Lance Smith's wife, called Laura and said, we don't know how Randy's going to handle when what's fixing to happen happens. So had Laura go over to my house, drive to Poplar Bluff from Jonesboro, go over to my house and get my gun. They thought I would be so psycho I would hurt myself. They absolutely. So we're being serious now. But do you know absolutely of everybody in my family, you know who kept it together more than anybody, and you know who was the least amount of visible upset than anybody? Any guesses? Of any of us, who would you think?
After that story, it was probably you.
Yeah, probably so.
Because I was the one person that was there the whole time and absolutely had no regrets. Absolutely no regrets whatsoever. Anyway, I'm excited about Friday. We have wrestling stuff because it says talking Memphis wrestling. I'm talking about guns. I'm talking about football. I'm talking about everything else. If I can keep this enthusiasm up for tomorrow, who knows? I might get kicked off the radio. I just don't know. But anyway, I want to do a couple of reviews, and I want to ask if you've watched them. The Tales from the Territory. It's a Tuesday night show on Vice. Tales from the Territories. There's the graphic there. They've done Memphis. They've done Florida. They've done Coffin and Lawler. They've done the AEW. And this past week was Stampede Wrestling, the Heart promotion. And I thought it was a very good thing, and I think there we go, the graphic of Stampede Wrestling, the group that started in 1948, lasted to 83, started back in 85 to 89, and then started off again in 99 to 2008. From 48 to 83, it was run by Stu Hart, the famous Hart family, and on the show the other day, you had one of Chris's favorite, Dr. D. David Schultz, had Bret Hart, had Abdullah the Butcher, and a wrestler I'd never heard of, No Class Bobby Bass. I love that name, and I think I sent links out, and we'll start with you, Chris. You've watched some of the Tales from the Territories. Did you watch the Stampede one? If so, what'd you think?
Well, I watched it not as intently as I had the others. Kind of watched it like I did the AWA because I'm a David Schultz fan, as you know, going way back. Love David Schultz. I'd never heard of No Class Bobby Bass, and I had to Google him to figure out who that was. Bret Hart, I always liked him and Neidhart together, and I try hard as a wrestling fan. Of course, I feel like I represent the wrestling fan on this show. I try not to hard to be not an old bitter wrestler / wrestling fan that back then was better and it was greater, and I feel like Bret turned into that as he got older. Like he, I think he really believed that he's the greatest there ever was and ever will be, and all that. I mean, a lot of bitterness there. So, but I mean, Stu Hart was, as far as like Sam Muchnick, Vince McMahon Sr., Stu Hart, those guys were like the Fuller / Welch family patriarchs. Those guys were like the backbone of territorial wrestling back in the day. I mean, you got to give credit to those guys.
Absolutely, all the credit in the world. And I like this series, Tales from the Territory, and I understand, could be wrong on this, but tomorrow they're talking about a promotion that I've heard some about. I don't know if I've ever watched, very, very little, but Portland Wrestling from the Pacific Northwest, and it was a Don Owens promotion, the Pacific Northwest. It began, I think, in the 30s and 40s. Don Owens was born in 1912. He died at 90 years old in 2002. Don Owens was a founding member of the NWA. He was a reputation of being a great payoff guy. He started the career of Stan the Man Stasiak, Sean Stasiak's dad, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, Nick Bonkwinkle, Mad Dog Vachon, Jesse the Body Ventura, Roddy Piper, Billy Jack Haynes, Moondog Maine, Jimmy Snuka, George Wagner, and many, many more. They converted a bowling alley into a wrestling ring, and it was just a great, great deal. No doubt about it. So I won't even ask Adam this question. I'll ask Chris. Do you know much? Have you watched much of Portland wrestling?
Actually, Randy, I have, because I watched all the old territorial uh, wrestling I can on different YouTube stuff, and then I didn't. I was I was always curious about Moondog Maine because he has connections to Arkansas, and so I was always curious about him. And of course, George, for the old Memphis wrestling fans, George Wagner's Gorgeous George Jr. Am I correct
Yes.
on that?
Yes.
And of course, all those guys that started there's neighboring territory to Vern's territory, so I could see those connections. But I didn't think it was great quality. And like all the guy Buddy, I can't think of his Buddy Rose.
Buddy Rose, yes.
Buddy Rose was like a beloved figure in Portland wrestling, and I mean he was over big time there. Now why? I don't know. I mean, I guess you had to live there and watch it sequentially for years, like we did in Memphis, to get all that. I've tried to watch it like in sequential order to get a better understanding of it, but I never could. But obviously, Piper and Jesse the Body Ventura and Kurt Hennig were legendary. I mean, legendary.
You know, once you grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, that's it for you, wrestling wise. That was it for me. Scott Art had a question, and I forget what I've talked about, so Adam can make the save here. Scott's Art says, wasn't that the music video for the Fabulous Ones? I don't know what.
Glory Days.
Glory Days.
Glory Days song.
Glory Days, yep.
Yeah, they did multiple things, and I've used it as my walked out thing because I lived in the past and I lived from the Glory Days. I absolutely do. We're going to try to be out of here maybe 10 minutes to 9, and a lot of stuff that we're going to try to get on. It's a talk show today, and we're going to cover a lot of subject. And Adam, I want you to put up, if you would, just the regular All Elite Wrestling, the regular AEW logo, and then as I talk into it, the other picture of that, as I get into this, you could put that. I'm going to review a very interesting article that I sent to both of you guys. It was a review, me reviewing Pro Wrestling Insider's Dave Shear. Now, here's what I say. I think Dave Shear doesn't play favorites. He's not a hater. He tries to be a real reporter, unlike, say, the other extreme, or one extreme is a AEW hater like Jim Cornette. Absolutely, it's no doubt. Overall, he's an AEW hater. Now, at the opposite extreme, Dave Meltzer is a AEW lover. They up until recently, when doing stuff you had to knock, and I have as well. Dave spoke up, but this guy, Dave Shear, Pro Wrestling Insider, I think it's great, and I've just made some notes, and I want you guys comments on that, and then we'll start with Adam. Again, Adam got this article, but I will read the key points in this thing. Pro Wrestling Insider, Dave Shear article, Con investigation a joke. Investigation was biased at best, a farce at worst. Not interviewing key witnesses, destroying evidence, and AEW friendly media writing hit pieces on Punk, saying he was a cancer. Makes me think he was a scapegoat from the start. By no means do I think Punk was completely innocent, but AEW not fixing its problems because Punk is the issue, because the issue is overall culture issue from AEW. Tony is not being transparent. Basically, investigation was a farce. Tony has no desire to share details with real reporters. Didn't talk to Ace Steele's wife, who was absolutely a witness. Punk wrong for throwing first punch, but at the same time, the Bucks are wrong for barging into the room. Jericho and EVPs got in Tony's ear. Rumor Jericho planted story in the first place that got Colt Cabana pushed off the TV. If the goal was to get the EVPs found innocent, mission completed. Tony lets the inmates run the asylum. Punk is being forced out of the company. The pettiness of AEW may cost them big time. Looks like Khan sure thinks Punk is a draw, but the elites are his friends. Chris Jericho has assumed a lot of power, reportedly, since the fight. That does not seem like coincidence. Ticket sales, ratings, and buzz are down. And you see the picture of Punk and the elite and want to return to master control in the Peachtree state of Georgia. And he is going to talk about what he thinks about this mess. Did you think that was a fair, impartial article, Adam Dunn?
So I guess I may have a little bit of a weird whatever. I don't know. First and foremost, just the way that was covered and the rumor and this and that and whatever. It's just my first thought in my head, and I don't mean this against you, Randy. I mean this against the whole situation. First of all, is just who the hell cares? I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just like he said, she said, is Punk a draw? Is this, that, whatever? It's just, all that bickering and childish crap and stuff like that. Just, again, it just shows that, I think the person may have used the terminology of the culture or whatever, but it just shows that like the structure is not there. And if that type of stuff is really happening that way, where these people are in this guy's ear and this is going on like that, it just sounds like, WCW kind of crap all over again. And,
hey. It's wrestling. It's the wrestling business that happened in every territory known to man. It happened in Power Pro. It happened in the USWA. It happened in the CWA. It happened for Bill Watts. It happens in any profession. But the point is, I think a lot of people care, and that's one of the problems is that more people care about the inside going-ons than they do what's in the ring and the talent. I think
that's absolutely right. More people are talking about this than anything that they do on TV.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. So very interesting insight. So Chris, what's your opinion of this big bad mess?
Well, now you got fired up earlier. Now I may get fired up on this. I don't get fired up on here very often, but I may on this. Okay, here's the deal. First of all, it's none of the media's business. The guy's a billionaire running a privately owned business. It's not publicly traded. The media is not entitled to know jack. The media is not entitled. He says he won't tell the report. You're not entitled to know anything. It's none of your business. What goes on behind the scenes, none of your business.
Right.
When I was young watching wrestling, I didn't want to know what went on in the dressing room. It wasn't none of my business.
Come to me.
Okay?
Come to me. Hold on. Because I tell you how this happened back in the day when the world of started getting smartened up, and Meltzer had his reporters, which I call his stooges, all over the place. And one of the guys was right here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. His name is Brian Trammell, who works for does something for one of the wrestling companies in Memphis right now. But he ran his mouth and smartening up the audience. Say, Randy Hills is the booker. He and Brandon Baxter are great fans. Well, he's saying this. I'm rabbit ears in the ring, so I probably told this story before. This is what happens to all of them. For the one time in his life, Brandon Baxter ignored my order. Because I told him, I said, throw me out of the ring. He threw me out of the ring. But he followed me out of the ring. He goes to pick me up. And I say, bill me, which is a hip toss, bill me on the Trammell. He said, why? I said, I'm going to knock his effing teeth down his throat. And that was 100% messing with my business. That's what they're doing. So you can't get as fired up as me. So I'm with you, Chris. Every word you're saying, I'll let you rant some more. You just remember, I can get away with rants. You need to control rant, and you have so far, but you need to be in control of your rant more than I have to. The only reason I have to control my rants is because that you and Pat and just have preachers on here and that sort of thing. But it was important enough to me back in those days. Somebody smartened the crowd up. I was willing to go to jail to knock his teeth down his throat and lose my building and everything else. I told Brandon, throw me into him. Brandon said, no, it'll cost us the building. I said, I don't give a F word. I was going to knock his teeth down his throat. And Brandon I couldn't just jump and be obvious and just do a crossbody into his face and Brandon nowhere around. But anyway, so along your lines, Chris, as we go back to you can finish your rant now. I just had to throw it's my show and I can rant whenever I want to. I'm going to give me another bottle. You can rant for a couple of minutes because I'm going to leave this desk because let me tell you why. I throw it away already. I'm out of water. I've talked so much. My mouth's getting dry.
It's your show. You do whatever you want to.
Yeah, I'm going to get water.
The media isn't entitled to know anything, first of all. Second of all, if you're the owner of a multi-million-dollar company, you can't be buddies with all the employees, and you can't allow this kind of conduct to go on. Now, if they're going to use this to work an angle in the ring, the backstage drama, because real life conflict is money, I get it. But this is this is like teenage garbage is what this is.
Exactly.
This is teenage garbage. This David Linville says about all the gaga. Yeah, the gaga has no place out here. Now, all being transparent here, I don't like the Bucks anyway. I'd have fired them right off the bat just to get rid of them, period, because I don't even like them. And I'm not a huge Punk fan because I'm not sure he's strictly there to get a payday, get more money, and get back out. He don't really want to wrestle anymore anyway, and that's his business. But Tony Khan does not run this like a multi-million-dollar business. It's not. He's a fan running a wrestling company, as it appears on the outside. I'm not there. I don't know. But on the outside, that's what it appears. Now, if all of this went on behind the scenes, you just saw in NBA, Draymond Green punched a teammate, Golden State Warriors. They suspended him, fined him, whatever. They took disciplinary action because of that. Wrestling's different because they're supposed to be fighting each other as part of the whole deal. But obviously, this was a shoot and not a work. So there had to be consequences, but it needed to be kept backstage. But because people like Dave Meltzer and whoever else, the backstage stuff gets out, especially with social media, and that's what everybody wants to focus on because it's dramatic, and it just has no place in it. And the last thing I'm going to say is, Randy said that they smartened everybody up, they killed business. I didn't want to be smartened up. I mean, I've taken trips with Randy, and I've gotten to know a lot that I didn't ever know before, but I didn't want to share it with other people. The whole cool part about it was kayfabe. That's the whole cool part about it to me. And the loss of that has damaged it. That's why when I see MJF, as I go back to him again, he's legitimate heel old time to me because people believe he's really a jerk. They really believe he is. But, he don't come down shaking hands and kissing babies. That was the cool thing. Like David Schultz, I love David Schultz, but I promise you, when I was 13 years old, I was scared to death of David Schultz. Like we went to the new building at Jonesboro, Randy knows, and he walked out from the heel dressing room. I wasn't over there trying to high-five him. I was afraid he'd knock my ass out.
Right.
I was scared to death of him. Him and Condrey were a tag team, like 79, 80. I always loved Dennis Condrey. I was afraid because he was Hickerson's partner. I was afraid of Phil Hickerson too. Right. Even when I got to meet Phil as a grown man, I still had respect for him. Like, this guy beat my butt right here. So anyway, I think getting all the behind the scenes information out to social media to the fans has hurt it. And then it's none of the media's business. Handle your business behind closed doors. Stay out of it.
Your thoughts, Adam?
No, yeah, I agree. I think Chris probably said it better than I did. That's what I mean by kind of like the who cares. Like it's like you said, it's not really anybody's business. All that crap should have been handled back there. And if they ended up trying to shoot an angle out of it or whatever, it's just turned into such a thing now to where it's I don't think it does anything at this point to help. I think even more casual fans to it just makes it look disorganized and chaotic, and that they don't have control over it or anything like that.
You got Randy West agreeing with you guys.
I want to say something about that. I consider that an honor. Right. That Randy West agreed with me. That is an honor for me. That man agreed with my thought on a situation in wrestling. That's very humbling for me.
That makes Chris's day. All right. It's just like, Adam always, because Randy always puts Adam over for the great job he does producing this show. Hell, Randy West, one of my best friends, he puts Adam over more than I'm jealous. It's like Randy's cheating on me. He never brags on me. Never brags on me. Poor, pitiful Randy. Hey, I want to throw this little scoop out, and we don't even have to react much to it, but the daughter of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Simone Johnson, has appeared on WWE television on NXT, but they're not. They've changed her name, and I realize the fact that The Rock started his career in Memphis as Flex Cabana. I realize that. But his daughter's name in NXT is just as silly as Flex Cabana, I think. Her name is Ava Rain. She is member of the group Chisholm, SCHISM. I had to look up I said, what the heck is that? Chisholm. I thought Chisholm was with the C was a John Wayne movie back in the day. That's what I know was Chisholm. But Chisholm apparently is defined as division by people. The group is Jagger Reed, never heard of him. Rip Fuller, never heard of him. Obviously, Ava Rain, it's Simone Johnson. But knowing that The Rock is the hottest thing going, the movie star going, knowing that he'll probably appear in April at WrestleMania in Los Angeles. More on that in a little bit. Why in the world name the girl? I've already Ava Simone or Ava whatever. What did I say? Ava Ray. Is that not a Flex Cabana worthy name, Adam?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so, and especially now. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious who Rock was in '96. I mean, of course, now with social media, everybody knows who the hell he is. So to do that, I don't understand that.
How about Randy says brag? See, this is putting me over a little bit in a
Yeah,
roundabout
I
way.
saw that.
He says
Yeah,
he said brag. Put that on the screen. Brag on the
I
students,
did.
not the
Yeah,
professor. I love it.
he
I
knows how to save
absolutely
face, doesn't he?
love it. The group. Let me go back to that group. It's SCHISM. The John Wayne movie was just a CHISM. But anyway, I just don't understand more, to create the name. So Chris, do you have anything to say about?
Yeah, I think it'd been the perfect opportunity to do, but again, we go to the backstage stuff being everywhere. Perfect opportunity to name her something else and don't even let them know she's related to The Rock. Like Brian Christopher, a la Brian Christopher. Everybody had their suspicions. You can see the mannerisms, so forth, but they're never going to live up. She's never going to be The Rock. It's impossible. Impossible. As great as BC was, and we all loved him, he wasn't the king. He couldn't be. You parlay that over to Pete Rose Jr. in baseball. They cursed him with that name. They should have named her whatever. Named her, I don't know what. Don't tell anybody she's kin to The Rock. Don't put that on her. Because she's never going to be as over as he was. That's it.
Okay, well, you just fired up. Today, obviously, David Linville with a real good wrestling example, and that was that David Flair was certainly no Ric Flair. No, he wasn't, and Reed wasn't either. I want to go in right now. If we can pop up the WWE logo, and we're going to talk a little bit from the Wrestling Observer right now. And I feel guilty about this. I think Adam, who maybe he read the notes half the time he doesn't, maybe he did, whatever. I think he's kind of slamming me. He's saying, who cares about the inside stuff? Knowing 90% of this audience wants to hear the inside stuff. And 90% of the notes that I sent for this show is the inside stuff. And then Adam said, who cares? Who cares? Well, that means they don't care about this show either. That means they don't care about this show either. But anyway, I care about this stuff. The third quarter financials were impressive. They did $304,640,000 in revenue. They did $41,620,000 in profits. In 9 months, they've done $66,238,000 in revenue, $56,760,000 in profit. Already in November, they've sold 100,000 tickets for the 2-day WrestleMania in LA. That's not to April the 2023. The Class at the Castle did $8 million. The company has $441 million cash on hand. They have $235 million of debt. The cost, I thought this was interesting. The cost of the Vince McMahon investigation was $19 million. Your thought? I'll ask Adam first. He might answer the same way. Who cares? If he says who cares, then you can answer. No, I'm making you come back on, Adam. You're not going to get away that easy. Your analysis of those numbers.
Who gives it? No, I'm joking. No, on that, that's amazing that cost. We say $19 million. Wow.
Yes, $19 million.
David was asking, was that the steroid, talking about the recent Vince McMahon issues, right?
Yeah, the recent Vince McMahon investigation, when he ended up having to
Right.
step down from the company, they did the internal investigation.
Right.
I'm wondering what the AEW investigation. According to the article that we read, they say that there was really not an investigation. Well, if I had the choice of spending $19 million or not doing the investigation, I wouldn't have done the investigation
Right.
myself.
Right.
But a
One is
public held company, you have to. You have to.
Right.
It's absolutely they have to, and it costs
Right.
$19 million. What's your other thoughts on those numbers, Adam? Impressive.
Yeah, definitely so. And yeah, I agree. It's like with WWE being a public company, yeah, you have to do those things. But like with AEW and all the stuff that happened back there, that when I say like who cares, I mean like about the investigation and stuff like that. Like Chris was saying, that part of it and all that's really, I mean, unless you're doing that as part of an angle, who cares? It's not really anybody's business. Like that part doesn't really need to be out there.
All right. Good thoughts. How about you? What do you think about those numbers, Chris?
Well, I think they're impressive numbers, and obviously they're still the giant in the wrestling / sports entertainment business, merchandising and marketing. They're masters of, and that's obvious in the profit details. I think Triple H has had a positive impact since he's taken over. I don't know. Obviously I don't keep up with that or track it, but I'd be interested to see what the data shows as it relates to Triple H. And I also think that actually having Roman Reigns on top for so long and having some consistency and something people can believe in has contributed to a little bit of extending success. That's just my opinion.
Al Tuttle, let's put it up again, Adam. Al Tuttle is in the house, always a friend. I'm talking Memphis Wrestling. He says, hello, everyone. The honorary Oost has arrived. Now, Al sent me the video of last week's SmackDown deal with the Usos and with Sami Zayn. And I don't think I shared that. I've shared some video with you guys. I don't think I shared that one. But it was very entertaining, very good, just very well done. Thank you for everything, Al, and thank you so much for sending that. It was very interesting. We're going to talk a little bit of modern wrestling right now, and if we could go ahead and put the Crown Jewel logo up there, because this is going to be a positive, glowing review. I watched it Saturday afternoon on the Peacock Network at noon. And I'm not saying that everything on this show blew me away, but it book ended absolutely great. And there was very great things. There was enough to where I would absolutely give double thumbs up. And I saw something that shocked me, impressed me, just blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind, and we'll certainly talk in depth about that as I am turning my phone to a medical report that I wanted to read as well. But we'll get into the results of Crown Jewel and we'll go through them quick. Brock Lesnar defeated Bobby Lashley in a 6-minute match that I would give a double thumbs up. I would then Damage Control against Asuka and Alexa Bliss. That would be close in my book of being a thumbs down, at the most of thumbs in the middle. Then the Judgment Day defeated the the OC. I would get that a thumbs up. Strowman against Big Omos. You know, I would think if I was giving it a letter grade, I would give it a C plus. Two big monsters. It was interesting. It really was. I thought it would be a dud. I thought it really would be a F. I thought it would be horrifying, and it wasn't horrifying. Number 6 was the Usos winning or retaining the WWE Tag Team titles against the Brawling Brutes. That was great. I mean, it really was. I give that a double thumbs up, no doubt. The last woman standing match, Bianca Belair over Bailey. I love Bailey and I like Bianca. I just didn't think that particular night they had a lot of chemistry. It's funny because they're in Saudi Arabia. They have to cover up more than they do in the United States. They're not wearing their typical stuff at all. Absolutely type of thing. But then the final match of the night, we'll switch to that, was absolutely blow away, triple A plus. It was every finger, every thumb on your hand up. It was unbelievable. The main event of Crown Jewel was Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. And I think I sent you guys highlights of that. If I think I did, Chris, if you would shake your head, yes or no. If you did not get that.
No, sir. I did not get that. No,
okay,
sir.
I thought I had sent that to you. This was Logan Paul's third match ever. Now, that's hard enough if if it's your third match ever and you're wrestling in front of 75 people at a National Guard armory. That's hard. You're wrestling your third match for the WWE World Championship in front of probably 20,000 people halfway across the world on a national TV premium event. Not only that is that it went 25 minutes long. And it was freaking guys that had been in this business for 10 years, never had as good a match. Now, a lot of it was absolutely Roman Reigns, but it does take two to tango. So before you guys say, well, Roman Reigns led the match, of course he did. Of course he did. But if you lay out something, if you call something, if the other guy can't do it, he just can't do it. Logan was there for everything. It was perfectly wrestled. One of the things that proves, you talk a lot about gymnastics and flip-flopping, Chris. We all talk about that. We see it all the time. I'll tell you a move. Now, Logan Paul has amateur wrestling credentials. He's done celebrity boxing type of thing, that sort of thing. So he's an absolute athlete. He is absolutely athlete. But I'm telling you, you see all these dives and all these fancy spots and all this. The first move he got, and you'll be tickled to death about this. You will love this. So they did simple stuff, real simple stuff. Roman kind of muscling him around in the beginning and a couple of times, but just going, he was quicker than Roman, and Logan went behind him and got a waist lock, and the people popped. But then they go for another move, and they're smart about it. They go for another move, and when's the last time you've seen a fireman's carry.
Oh my gosh. Dean Malenko in the late 90s in WCW maybe, or Kurt Angle maybe. I mean, years since I've seen a fireman's carry.
They worked the big moves. Then after, I mean, it was sensational. I'll have to. The whole match is not up, but I'll see if I can find that and send it to you. You got to watch it to see if to prove I'm not full of it. Because when have you heard me brag like this? If it's not a Lawler, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. Everything was right. Another spot before I tell you the little spot they did, and this is a thing that I kind of got hot-headed to you one time about yourself. The term rest hold, I hate that.
Yeah, it took me once to learn. Don't say that.
But here's the thing. Now, the reason that I heard this Bubba Ray or Mark Henry say this, and it's true. The reasons holds don't work now is, first of all, they don't know how to apply them on offense. It looks like you're really hurting somebody, and the guy selling it doesn't know how to sell it. That's the two things. However, so Roman gets that gum Logan Paul, because you can't go 100 miles an hour, boom, 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 boom. Where do you go up? Where can you build the crowd up to if you're up the whole time and you're up the whole time, the whole night? You know, you just can't do it. But I forgot the hold that Roman had him in. But as he had that hold on him, and Logan was selling absolutely perfectly. And at the same time, the whole time he was selling and the whole time that hold was attached, that deadgum Roman Reigns cut a promo on him the whole time. Now, because Logan Paul is cocky, and because a lot of the wrestling fans are resentful, somebody's coming into our business, they're more defensive of their business than we are. But the guy's doing everything right. And Roman has the cool heel type of a. It's hard for, as good as he is, it's hard for people not to like him. But he got heat during that match, and he wouldn't have able to get heat unless Logan Paul won that audience over, and he did, by God, and the whole wrestling universe just impressed. He did Hangman Page, like Al says, the buckshot lariat better than Hangman did, and Hangman does it great too, but he did it great. Then he does breaking political news, and honestly, I don't do politics at all, and no reaction here. Just a lot of the audience. I don't afraid to see you keeping up with the thing is Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the new governor of the state of Arkansas, and I have a wrestling scoop because her brother David worked for Cade Fine, and I shot an angle with him, and his dad was governor of Arkansas at the time. I shot an angle with him, and my syndicate beat him up, and now his sister and his dad before is governor of the state of Arkansas. So that's political breaking news, and I absolutely, Cornette will hate me for life. I'm not going to say one way or another who I voted for, who I didn't vote for, or if I did vote. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just doing a public service announcement, giving the results that's reported by Adam Dunn, because I'm going to bury Adam. If that information happens to be wrong, Adam saw wrong news. So I didn't see that, but I'm sure Adam is so picky. Going back to Logan Paul, he did a thing, and this is unique and just strange. he had some plants in the audience, obviously, part of his posse. So he goes out and gets their phone, right? So he gets uh, he had planted Roman. Now this sounds crazy. It is crazy. He plants Roman on the outside announcer's table. He goes up to the turnbuckle and takes a selfie of himself. Remember, he's a YouTube influencer. I would never thought of this. Then he freaking goes to the other side of the ring and goes to jump to the top rope and do a freaking jumps off the rope and then dives through this table that breaks the table at the same time while shooting a stinking video of him on his cell phone doing it. The damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life. The damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life. Then he gets back in the ring. And I don't think he was hurt at that point. I don't think he was hurt. But then they did, the Usos come out. And here comes the Usos to interfere. Then here comes his brother, Jake Paul, who is a YouTuber, who is also a boxer and that type. Both guys athletic and people coming unglued. So do a little deal there. And then they roll out on the floor. And then Logan does another big ass dive. And another Uso comes out. And then another, just a big smize. He does another freaking dive and wipes out all the Usos. That's where I think he hurt himself. But you couldn't tell he hurt himself. Let's go ahead and put that picture up, Adam. Then he rolls back in the ring, right into the Superman punch, and then the spear, and then the 1, 2, 3, and Roman Reigns retained the title. Now, there is the picture in the dressing room, and you're the football guy, so you can give us a deal of kind of medical. You're not a doctor, obviously. You just know about injuries, how bad this is. Logan did a Instagram, and he says, I'll mispronounce this, but a torn meniscus, MCL, and a potential ACL injury. He says happened halfway through the match. Keep you updated. I say there's no way in hell it happened halfway through the match. It was blow away, absolutely unbelievable. And when has the last time you've seen me spend that much time on analyzing a wrestling match, reviewing a wrestling match? And are you shocked? Absolutely. Because the guy was hurt like that. We'll let you answer the medical question first. How bad is that injury? And are you impressed with the report and the fact that he finished the match? There's no way in hell it happened halfway through the match. If he did, he's super freaking man. He's Superman, I'm telling you. But your thoughts?
Well, now there's different. First of all, meniscus tear can be fixed with a scope, and you can be back in a week. So meniscus isn't that serious. There's different tears of the ACL and MCL. If it's torn in two, you're looking at 6 to 9 months recovery and rehab. If it's frayed, like stretched real bad and it frays, you could finish the match on that, and the elasticity wouldn't be as strong. It wouldn't be like when Triple H tore his quads, like you could still walk and all that. You could finish it if it was just partially, like a partial tear, and it can be fixed in a more timely manner. But if it was torn completely, ACL and MCL, he couldn't walk because there's no attachment to the muscle helping the knee, be stable. It just collapse and give. So I don't know what level of ACL, MCL injury he has, but you can tear a meniscus and get scoped and be back in 5 to 7 days easily. You're walking the next day.
Now I looked and I did text you that earlier, and I text you and Adam that both knowing you're going to be on the show tonight, and I just texted again highlights. You won't have a chance to watch it while we're still on the air. Obviously, I was going to see if Adam had a chance to watch it or had comments on that match, but Adam, his profile picture is, so I do not think Adam. Adam, can you comment at least? So I guess Adam is not available to. Oh, there he is. Adam, did you get a chance to hear my report about that match from Logan Paul and Roman? And did you get a chance to see the highlights?
I have not. I didn't watch the match, and like I said, I think I may have talked about this on last night's show on the Power Hour. My big takeaway from that was just him being a social media influencer and all that. My kids never talk about wrestling, and my youngest son came in, and the first thing he said to me was, "Man, you should watch that Logan Paul match. He kicked Roman Reigns' ass. It was awesome." So that just shows you, this guy more mass appeal than what they just normally do.
Absolutely, and that's the key. And he didn't do. I want both of you guys to watch that. Now, I did not. I watched the match in its entirety, so I don't know how it's edited. I have no idea, but hopefully you get that chance, because absolutely it's perfect. And Al said that he certainly gained the respect of the locker room. And how could you? And as a wrestling promoter, if you bring somebody with that kind of social media following, but as an athlete, and the match was just absolutely, people say, "Oh, he hadn't paid his dues. He hadn't paid his dues." And would have happened 30 years ago? Well, it was a different world altogether. But would I have booked him myself if I would have known he would be that good? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now they're talking. I don't know how long the century is going to be. Now they're talking. I think this would be an interesting match, Adam. They're thinking about bringing his brother in. If they could get two of them like that, brother, that's good. Because Chris was talking about younger people. Would you rather see a 70, or let's say whatever, a wrestler who can't physically do what they used to could do? That is kind of sad watching. Would you rather see that?
Right.
Or would you rather see a celebrity that's obviously an athlete, that obviously is trained and respects what he's doing and loves the wrestling business, and goes out there and adds interest and adds fans and adds numbers? Which, in other words, it's hard for you to answer, either one of you answer this without seeing that match, because I'm really bragging on it. But as long as it holds up as much as I said and Ian says, does the fact that he is a YouTube influencer, do you think the idea of putting him in that match that delivered is a good idea or a bad idea? Start with you first, Chris.
Oh, I think it's a great idea, because social media for younger generations, where it's at. His fame, but now it parallels this. I'll just use this example. Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen. They went out in the towns and partied with the people. They got over with the people because of their lifestyle. They wore the nice clothes, rode in a limousine, flew on a private jet. People saw that with their own eyes. Now this social media, they see their life through that social media network through their own eyes. They see their house. They see where they're eating. They see their girlfriend. They see them climbing Mount Everest or whatever. I mean, they build themselves up bigger than life through social media.
Sometimes we see stuff we don't want to see. It's horrifying.
Right.
Yeah. True.
And it'll just get worse. It will just get worse. But yeah.
I ask you this, Randy, because you said it was Logan Paul's third match.
Yeah.
How long did it take y'all to put Sterling Golden / the Hulk in the main event against the King? How long?
You know, he might have wrestled. Or I think he wrestled the main event in Memphis. I don't know how much he wrestled before he got to Memphis. It wasn't long. It wasn't no, but I guarantee you, he just did the big man stuff. I guarantee you, he wasn't that good, and he wasn't that old.
No. I wasn't saying he was good, but I was
Yeah.
saying because he could put butts in the seats, y'all booked him in the main event because he'd sell
Well,
tickets.
We thought he would, but he wasn't a proven draw anyway. He was just a
Right.
big guy with a unique look. They took that gamble and it worked.
Right.
And he didn't make a lot of appearances here because it was going to be swapped up sometime. It was just exciting as I'm watching some of that now, and it looks like they're highlighting.
I want to go back to something you said, Randy, about watching the old guys compared to the newer athletic guys. Hey, and you know this, he's a personal friend of you two, and one of my heroes. I love the King. If Jerry Lawler's wrestling, I'm going to watch it. I mean, he's my hero in wrestling, always will be. But the reality is, in my mind, it's 1970 something, and I'm watching him. In my mind, it's June 6, 1983, the greatest wrestling match of all time. Right. Yes, he's 70-something years old now because I'm 56. But in my mind, he's young like Logan Paul is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. I told Adam last night, and I would have loved to do that. We just completed in 99 and a lot of things in life would have changed. Say you had social media and say that Logan Paul was from that type of era. Working with Jerry Lawler was the best thing that ever happened to Sean Stasiak. And nobody else ever did anything with him, and he drew a lot of money. We did programs after that, but Lawler's first two feuds, first one was me, second one Stasiak, was great. He did good stuff afterwards, but really not over the top. For Jerry, if Logan Paul would have been a WWE development wrestler there and would have been, he's 27 years old now. Was born in 1995. Same age my nephew Corbin turned yesterday. 27 years old is young, but say he was at 23 or 4 years old, he came to Power Pro and developmental, and we put him with Law. With his personality, his ability to talk, and just his ability to get because he comes across so cocky. I think Logan Paul and the Jerry Lawler program would have blown away. Adam went away, but I think Adam, give me a thumbs up if you think that Logan Paul would have had the ability to be even better opponent for Jerry Lawler than Stasiak was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think so, without question. Just kind of going back a little bit what you said earlier. Yeah, I would definitely like to see somebody younger as opposed to seeing somebody older. And there's right ways and wrong ways to do the celebrity thing or whatever. I think probably the closest equivalent that we would have for the time and putting yourself in that time period. You take Logan Paul, big YouTube star, bring him into wrestling. You take Andy Kaufman, big TV star on Taxi, bring him into wrestling, right? And then almost like your social media part of that would be they're on the David Letterman show, kind of a similar thing. Also do that the wrong way. Now you said Logan Paul having the respect and everything like that. You can also think back to like WCW and what was his name, David Arquette or whatever.
David
that had the
Arquette.
title at one time.
Yeah. And he honestly,
that's the way to not do
it. He honestly, everything I've heard and talked to Jeff Jarrett, he really was a wrestling fan and respected the business. that was more Eric
Right.
Bischoff or Vince Russo's fault
Right.
for that.
Yeah.
I don't think the heat
presentation.
ever went on him with the boys. It went on Eric and Vince Russo or whoever's decision it was. Sure, you could do it wrong, but who's better than Jerry Lawler to work with celebrity in the world? Obviously,
yeah,
he did
absolutely.
with Kaufman. And physically,
Mhm.
Logan Paul, if he looked the way he is, certainly now he had an exhibition with Floyd Mayweather, for Christ's sake, and went the distance with it.
Right.
Not everybody can do that, Chris.
No,
No.
certainly not. No.
Even a
That's-
older guy. You know, I try to be done on Tuesdays in time to let our audience watch Vice TV and watch Portland Wrestling. I don't know if I watch it tonight or wait for Al to send me the YouTube link. I want to talk, just start this discussion, and we will end up talking more about it next week. It's hard to put a number one on things. It really is. The most controversy or shocking moments in pro wrestling history. One of the things outside the ring, certainly, I thought the death of Bruiser Brody on July the 17th, 1988 in 1942. I don't know if you were watching Bill Watts' wrestling when it started airing on Channel 3 before it switched to Channel 4, and the United States Tag Team Champion was Frank Goodish, Bruiser Brody later, and Stan Hansen. Do you remember Bruiser Brody on Bill Watts television?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I remember that. I certainly do. And of course, I obviously remember when Brody was killed and seen lots of different stories, interviews, things discussing that situation. It shows the political power of Carlos Colon in that country to keep that guy from going to prison for murder. I mean, because he just stabbed him and killed him. Period.
Absolutely.
It's a sad. It's a sad deal for his family. I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
Bruiser Brody was and it goes back to the believability of wrestling in 1988. The people in Puerto Rico thought he was crazy, legit. You know, they thought he was nuts. They were scared of him, and so that in this circumstance, it hurt the case because they thought that, man, if he was coming after me, I'd try to kill him too, keep him from hurting me. You know, but it shows the power that Carlos Colon had.
May the 23rd, 1999, at age 34, the death of Owen Hart.
Oh, the thing that amazes me, first of all, I liked Owen Hart. And by all accounts, all the boys liked Owen Hart, spoke highly of him. The fact that they kept the show going has always astonished me. I mean, it's just always, and I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever talked to the King about it. Him and Jim Ross are sitting there trying to keep the commentary and all. I mean, my goodness, I don't see how they did it. I don't see how the wrestlers worked. I don't see how the fans. I mean, that's unbelievable to sit there and watch that happen. I mean, I've been in a race. Go ahead.
I was just going to pitch to Adam to see his thoughts on that situation and your question or your statement that you couldn't believe they didn't stop the show. You know, that back in the pay-per-view days and they bought the time, I don't know if it's even possible to end the show. I just don't know. But certainly that was.
You know, a couple things on that. One, and I'm sure, Randy, you probably had this conversation and remember this also. Jerry was the first person to get to Owen when he got hurt and knew pretty well on that it wasn't a good situation at all. As far as not ending the show, I know Vince gets a lot of whatever for that, but again, even in that time, what was that, 1999? You know, I don't think the fans in attendance at the show the whole time never knew Owen had passed away. Of course, they made the announcement on TV, but the fans in attendance, and all that wasn't a thing like that then. So, I don't know what It sounds good to say, well, they should have stopped, but I don't know what else they could have done. Especially since it was a situation where it didn't happen live where you could see it on the TV, right? So it was almost kind of one of those things. I know a lot of people probably look at it and go, "Oh, show must go on." It was a money thing. No, I really don't think that that's what it was. I think it was just a situation to where, hey, what the hell else could you really do? And you know, stuff, set up there, and you have to do it. And like Randy said, you may have a commitment to the broadcast provider that what else can you do? So it's definitely a sad situation, and just to think that happened, and I believe was a night on Raw. They already had all the stuff put together to tribute to, and they'd interviewed all the guys and everything. So I mean, obviously they busted their ass to get all that put together, and everybody wrestled with the armband on and everything. I don't really know what they could have done different, honestly, and it was just such a bad situation. And I think they made the right call not announcing what had happened over the house mic to the people, because, and that just would have been probably not a good thing to happen.
We'll do one more and get people off here so they will have the chance, certainly, to watch the Tales from the Territories, the Portland territory. I want to do one more, and this was obviously controversial. It happened in 2007, the death of Chris Benoit and his son and Nancy Benoit, 40 years. And I think Vince has really been knocked for this, because you don't know when he got the information, all the information. You just don't know that, because certainly they did after they found out that he was dead, that they did a tribute show on Raw. Then it came out to the public that it was a murder suicide, and then Chris Benoit is never mentioned on WWE TV. So we'll ask both of you there, how shocking was that in 2007? And I can certainly say there, second guessing after the fact, even if it didn't come, if it was a robbery or something, they shouldn't have done a tribute show until they had definite information on what happened. Certainly, I think that was the wrong decision. How about you?
Yeah, I think Vince would tell you that in hindsight, he should have waited. I mean, they should have mentioned his death maybe on a show, maybe put his picture up and moved on with the regular show until they gathered more information and the facts of what had transpired. I think in their haste to pay recognition to him, because he was so highly regarded and respected, I think they may have erred in that area. Patience would have served them well, but that, as you mentioned, hindsight being 2020. But I think Vince would, if he was ever faced with that situation again, that wouldn't happen again. It wouldn't happen like that quickly. He would be more thorough and detailed.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about it. Real quick, Adam, comments on that situation. You were a pretty young guy in 2007, no doubt about that. Your thoughts on the Chris Benoit situation?
Yeah, definitely. One of those deals that, in hindsight, I'm sure they probably wouldn't have done that. But again, another one of those things in the moment like that. I'm sure that was probably the last thing on anyone's mind is like, well, let's make sure he didn't kill everybody first before we talk about it.
Oh,
Because I mean,
yeah.
probably nobody was thinking that, right? So of course, if
Oh,
something tragic happened, and so I don't really fault them for presenting it the way that they did. And the fact where they just never mentioned him ever again, that's just going to come to where you fall down on it being, was still Chris? Was it a mental thing? Now everything we know with the head trauma and all that type of stuff. Of course, nothing at all would ever excuse what he did, but it's just one of those situations to where as more and more stuff comes out about it, of course. But I remember family members that never talked to me about wrestling sending me messages about, oh my gosh, I heard Chris Benoit passed away. And I remember, I think it was CNN or somebody had 5 or 6 wrestlers on talking about it. And I just remember watching that going, well, that didn't really help anything. It's almost like a lot of times when they interview Olympic athletes, you're almost like, just do your Olympic stuff and you probably don't need to talk, So it's kind of one of those things.
final thoughts about tonight's show, Adam.
Oh, really enjoyed the show. Sometimes when we don't have Michael and Pat and everything on here, it's just, especially my God, whenever we drag me out here to be on the show, we're don't have a whole lot on the show, but no, but anyway, I thought we had a great show, a lot of great topics tonight, and I enjoyed all 3 of us being on here tonight talking about things, and look forward to doing it again.
Yeah,
Well,
and going outside the box, talking the non-Memphis stuff is fun for me. Talking football is fun for me. Getting prepared for tomorrow is fun for me. Final thoughts, Chris.
well, I enjoyed being on here with Adam, obviously, and first time I've been on in a while, but I consider myself the Jackie Fargo of this show. Y'all bring me in for short shots. When you need to pop business, you bring me in. See, that's how it works. So
All right, I got you.
I thought that'd make everybody laugh. I thought everybody get a good kick out of that. When
It
Jackie
made
got
Adam
older,
leave Adam leave the screen.
oh my God, I run him completely off screen. No, seriously though, tonight's show, diverse topics, a lot of good stuff. I'm excited about seeing Logan Paul now because I haven't seen that obviously, and I think it's good to mix in some of the old school with the new stuff because we want to keep this industry going because we've all loved it our whole life. I mean, I've not known Adam that long, but you and I go back in this to the early 70s and we spent our whole life doing it. And I get at my age now, people tease me about it sometimes, and I'm like, you don't understand. If you didn't grow up like us, you just don't understand.
Text me and let me know if you look at the highlights and what you think. I'll be up a little bit tonight because I'm going to watch that show. Plus, I'm going to type my notes. I thank you for being here and want to thanks a lot, Chris, because we know in football season it's dang near impossible for you to be on. The football season is over, and hopefully we'll get the entire gang back together again, the whole band back together again. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I will join you at 8 o'clock at 953theticket.com. Bud Row is gone, so we will be there for the front row with Bud Row at 96.9 FM, 95.3 FM, 970 AM. The first radio station I ever listened to in my life was 970 AM, back when it was a AM country station, and you certainly can all over the world listen on the World Wide Web at 953theticket.com. At 8 o'clock, we will take a look at the football playoffs this weekend. I'm excited about that. Valley View's home game, and we will have 3 players. Looking forward to that. We have number 5. Carson Winters will be in studio as a guest tomorrow. Carson will be all 3 of them first appearance. Carson will be there. And then we've got a offensive man. He is number 68. Hayden Ross will be on the front row with Bud Row. And number 23. I said this as we opened, and I don't know if Chris heard this or not, but certainly I think I would say this number 23 is the best birthday present I ever got in my life. He was born on my 43rd birthday. I turned 61 in December 10th, and he turns 18 years old. That's what we have going on tomorrow morning. We'll be back next Monday night with the Power Hour as we're on a roll. The show we watched last night from January the 2nd of 1999 was blow away great. Lawler and Christopher, Hales and Baxter, all kinds of stuff. Last week, it's at the Randall Hales YouTube page right now in the archive. If you missed that showing last night, go to the Randall Hales YouTube. Don't pay attention to what it says. You can still go to the Memphis Wrestling YouTube, but the link to the show last night is on the Randall Hales thing. I think you will enjoy seeing that show. Next week's show, great as well, as we show the January 9th, and we have a little trip. We have a little trip to Jerry Lawler's house, and chaos after chaos after chaos. And that is next Monday on the Power. Next Tuesday is Talking Memphis Wrestling, and hopefully the gang is back together again. This is a lot of fun. Looking forward to tomorrow. Looking forward to our shows next week. Until then, for my buddy Chris Ellis, who's popped back on the screen, my buddy Adam Dunn, I am Randy Hills, and I've had fun doing this. Adam, say bye.
Yep. Bye.
Chris, say bye.
Bye, everybody.
This is Randy Hills, and we are out.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hills, featuring Michael St. John, Pat Trammell, and special guests.